What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. This is the Deep Corner episode 15. I'm Rob St. Clair, and a very special guest today on the show, the VLA Director of Business Development, Mr. Will Foley. Welcome to the show.
Excited to be here, Rob. Excited to chat and catch up.
Great. Well, thanks for taking the time out of the workday to hop on with me. Got a lot I really want to get to. You have a really unique perspective on the whole league with all of your business background, and I have a lot of businessy sort of questions that I want to get to kind of break down about how building a league kind of works. But first and foremost, you're a volleyball guy through and through. Your volleyball background goes way back, and I want to hear, I want the people to hear from you kind of how you got into volleyball, and especially there's a story that's on your bio on the website that I just love. Can you tell that to everyone?
Yeah, been part of the community for over 20 years now, and 90% of the people that I can think of were people I've met through volleyball in some shape and form, and that all started one hot summer day. This 15-year-old kid was looking at his neighbor's pool wondering, how can I get in there? It'd be so nice to just cool off. And so I ended up going, knocking on my neighbor's door and asking if I could use his pool. And he put one single condition on it. If I used his pool, I had to show up the next day to volleyball practice. And so from that day forward, my neighbor was the high school varsity coach at my high school, turned me on to the sport of volleyball. And the next day I was in a hot gym playing volleyball. And ever since, it's been a big part of my life. And I have a lot to owe to that, my high school volleyball coach. So thank you.
Yeah, the rest is history. That's
Yeah.
we all stumble upon the game in different ways, but that's one of the best stories I've heard for sure.
Yeah, it's still very quite memorable in my head.
So that first exposure to volleyball has taken you really just about everywhere in the sport. It took you collegiately to Stevens Institute of Technology in New Jersey, which is a very good D3 program. Can you tell me about how you picked Stevens and what playing at the D3 level was like?
Yeah, and I think when I look back at that, D3 volleyball, even 5 years ago, is different than D3 volleyball today.
Yeah.
And when you look at D3 volleyball 10 years ago, it's even more different. And so at the time, the number of schools to play collegiate volleyball was, I'm pretty sure, about a quarter of what it is today. And so options were really limited. But one thing I knew in my search was I wanted a really good education because volleyball, at the time I knew wasn't going to be a full-time career. Little did I know I would have an opportunity like this to turn it into hopefully a full-time career. But it was something that I knew I needed to balance. So my love for volleyball had to be balanced with a great education. And so that really narrowed down the programs out there. And luckily, and it is by luck, that I had good enough scores and good enough performance in school to be able to go to Stevens Institute of Technology. And I really fell in love with the school because the coach that is there now was actually my coach, Coach Patrick Dorwalski, and he did a fantastic job of recruiting. And on my recruiting trip, I got to meet a lot of friends that I still chat with every day. And I had a blast visiting the school, and I knew after that visit, that was the school for me.
That's perfect. And since then, you've still been involved with Stevens. You've been on the coaching staff in some capacity the last couple of years, right? How did that come about, and what's it like still being involved with your old program, but in a very different role?
Yeah, it was a steep learning curve for me, but I got to jump into the program because I had an opportunity between jobs, really. And so I took the opportunity to reach out to my head coach and see if he needed any help. And so that year I joined the club as an assistant volleyball coach, volunteer assistant volleyball coach. And ironically, that was the first year in the school's program to win a D3 championship, national championship, back in 2015. And it was an amazing experience. And I enjoyed it so much. Coach Dorwalski asked me the next year to be the paid assistant coach. So I got to balance a full-time job and help out the school in a more formal capacity. Since then, I've kind of had to really balance my professional career with coming back as a volunteer assistant for the last 3 years and helping the school program stay in the top 4 in the nation since joining the coaching staff. And I kind of hinted at, it was a challenge, and really the challenge for me is making that transition from being a player where, if you tried a little harder, if you worked a little harder, if you jumped a little higher, if you hit the ball a little harder, you felt like you could win the volleyball match. None of those things are true as a coach. You can't physically do anything, and so I had to quickly learn that the game of coaching volleyball is all about preparing the players to put themselves in good positions so that in competition they come out stronger and hopefully come out as a winner.
That's well said, and it's a very, very different mindset between playing and coaching. Like, coaches can obviously draw on their experiences as a player, but you're right. When you're on the sidelines in a polo and khakis rather than suited up ready to play, there is nothing you can do on the court. It is all about the work that you've put in before that.
Yes. It's helped me in business as well, and in my professional career. It's just the hard work is not the game. It's more of how you've prepared for the game time situations.
So I want to get to how you kind of got involved with the VLA, and I think part of the story is this character, Chris Hosley, who I had on this very show 2 weeks ago. Chris sent me this LVC Flamingo hoodie, which I just love. You've got some LVC swag of your own there. What's your relationship with Chris like? How far does that go back, and what have you guys done over the years?
Yeah, it depends what he said, because we go way back, and so Chris Hosley and I grew up in the same area, and his younger brother played volleyball with me growing up in the same club team. And so I knew of Chris, but at the time Chris is 3 years older, and so in high school 3 years is it feels like a grandpa.
Feels
almost.
Like a lot, yeah.
Yeah, but after you graduate, you kind of slowly realize that we're all adults now. And so after college, both he and I were still very passionate about playing volleyball and being active. And so Chris has run the Legion Volleyball Club for almost 20 years now. And he has an amazing ability to just attract great top talent, get people organized and at tournaments to play and compete. And I quickly fell in love with just traveling around with the Legion team and hang out with Chris off the court and on the court. And so that certainly has been how I got to really know Chris over the years, and that's how I got introduced to the VLA team. And so I owe a lot to him and Coley and Loy and the rest of the team, Vince and Tim, for letting me be part of this amazing team, and including yourself.
Well, thank you, and everyone else is better for your involvement as well. You're the exact kind of business experience outlook guy that the board needs, especially with the volleyball background that you have. So let's kind of talk how a league works from a business perspective. This is a unique perspective I can get from you on the show that nobody else is really able to give. So from before we kind of break it down, from a high level, when you're starting a league from nothing like we kind of are right now, what's the general approach to building it from a business perspective?
Yeah, I think, at its core, when you think about professional sports leagues, the industry that you are in is entertainment. And when you break down the fact that what we're building is maybe not necessarily a professional volleyball league, but more or less an entertainment product, you really can start framing how we start trying to solve the problems of entertainment in the form of creating a professional volleyball league. And so in entertainment, really the goal is to attract people and eyeballs and interest onto your product. And so when I think about what we're building here is we're building an entertainment company that specializes in high-level volleyball in the form of a professional volleyball league. And now we can start tackling all of the pieces that go into attracting eyeballs and attracting followers, and then generating revenue to become a sustainable business. And those are some of the different perspectives that I've been mulling over the last year and a half to really think through, but also solve for.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. If it's a product that we're putting out there, but the product is an entertainment product, it's consumed in an entertainment way and on those kind of mediums, and that's kind of the industry that professional sports is in. People are paying money for tickets to go to the events in person. People are watching it on TV or streaming services that generate revenue that way to be entertained. I think that's exactly what it is. So how do we as a league, what are the details about the entertainment product that you and the board are focused on as it relates to taking it to investors?
Yeah, I think when it comes to investors, when it comes to even say sponsorships or marketing opportunities for businesses to really get value out of it, I think about the numbers and the reach and who our target market is. And so the numbers and our reach is really the value that we provide to our investors or partners in this league. And those come in many different forms. But some of the key ones that we're looking at is social media followers, impressions, as well as our YouTube views, as well as subscribers. And those are just the numbers from a very grassroots perspective that become really, really important in some of those conversations. Because what investors, what sponsors, what partners are looking for is an ability to get their products and services in front of people.
Right.
And what our job is to do is to get eyeballs on our product. And so now we're creating this cohesive synergy between our partners and our investors to drive value to our partners and businesses that we work with to get eyeballs on their product as well as our product. And so when I think about our ideal partners, it's anyone that's interested in tapping into our target market, the same target market. And when we think about who our product is for, our target market really stems from a youth level, from 14 and 15-year-olds up to adults, where I see a market growing for the consumption of professional volleyball. In the U.S., it is very hard to find live quality volleyball matches to watch in any form.
So difficult.
It's wild. My wife and daughter and I travel out to Penn State to watch quality volleyball, and if I'm willing to drive from New York City to Penn State to watch volleyball, I know I'm not the only one out there willing to do that, because at those games, I am one of 20,000 people in that stadium, and it's an amazing experience. And so the relationship that we're building here is trying to solve that challenge in the market, that there's not a great place to view high quality volleyball, and get it in front of our target market, and find partners and businesses that also are trying to tap into that target market, so that we can work together to attract eyes and attract people to our games, and really work together to grow professional volleyball here at our domestically, but also help grow the businesses that we partner with and their missions as well.
Right. Okay. That's well said, and a comprehensive look at kind of what we're trying to tackle here, the kind of eyes that we're trying to put on this league. So, my dad has described growing professional sports in an interesting way, and it just kind of eventually comes down to what he likes to call putting butts in seats. You need to be able
Yeah.
to put live human beings, get them to pay money to attend your games in person. And like you just mentioned, you're willing to drive pretty substantial distances to be a part of a live volleyball viewing experience, because the top level D1 women's programs put on a seriously good top to bottom show at a volleyball match. And it's not just the on-court product, it's the whole thing. It's the whole production. And I went last summer to the finals of the VNL, which the FIVB put on in Chicago, which was similar in how great of a production it was. So what is the key to putting butts in seats for a professional volleyball league like us?
Yeah, I think that is the challenge, right? It's a huge multi-million dollar question. And when I think about putting butts in seats, it's about creating a community. And so one of the greatest parts about volleyball is the community aspect of it. When I think about the days of playing volleyball at the youth level, it was such an awesome experience, and volleyball was just a piece of it. And so that was the ability to go on a road trip, travel with your friends, hang out and have dinner, and really just, you know, interact with friends that shared similar interests. And so that reason that people are attracted to volleyball is exactly the environment that we want to create with watching volleyball. And there's a lot of research out there that suggests that in an individual's brain, the same or similar experiences are felt when you play volleyball as you do when you watch volleyball. And so really what we're hoping to do is really drive into that aspect of our community and provide them with another area that they come hang out with their teams, with their friends, with their community, have an amazing experience that really drives that interest that they have on the court, and do it in a situation where they actually drive butts to the seats. And so that is the type of challenge that we are looking to solve for, by tapping into some of those rudimentary reasons that people love the sport of volleyball.
Well, you talked about the volleyball culture, which is in the community, which is just incredible. The volleyball world is huge. It's also so small. It's driven by people who are just so passionate and just obsessed with the game. And I think that people would be crazy not to want to watch our product. When people start to figure out what is going on the court with these teams, when we get it in front of JVA, USAV, AAU events with all these junior players that are just walking by and see it and get latched onto it, it's really going to sell itself at that point, which is why partnering with those organizations to run our events is just so awesome. but you have such a strong volleyball background. So do I. So do all of us that are involved in this league. We know how great of a spectator sport volleyball can be. Can you talk about that a little bit more? What do you think? Compare and contrast watching volleyball live with watching other sports live that are currently like dominant professional markets.
Yeah, and you know what? First is all of the other professional sports are amazing for their own reasons. And so when I think about the NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, soccer internationally and domestically, those are some powerhouses that have an amazing following. And what I have recognized is that they have been very dominant because they had a massive following, and the unit economics of people being able to watch a sport made a lot of sense because the NFL really owned Sunday, right?
Totally.
College football owns
Saturday.
Saturday. And you have baseball that owns the summer, and the sport of soccer owns the sport of the world, right? Low cost, it is everybody's sport.
Right.
And so when I think about volleyball and the unique aspects of that sport, I get back to the fact that it is a very popular sport internationally. And for some reason in the U.S.,
where it was
there
invented.
are reasons. There are, back in Holyoke, Springfield, Massachusetts, where it was invented, it just hasn't caught on. But here lies a unique time in our lives where technology is cheaper. We have the internet and we have cheaper distribution channels, and you see niche-like sports grow in popularity, not only in access to it, but also distribution of it has kind of really kind of hit the tipping point of cost versus access. And so the sport of volleyball is so unique in comparison to all of the other sports, because when you're watching it and you think about ESPN's top 10 plays, in the sport of a single match, you have more than 10 top plays.
Absolutely.
And I think that is the core reason why, when I think about my love for the sport, I loved playing it because I had these opportunities to make the dive, to make the block, to make the hit at such a high athletic movement that gave me this really strong sense of accomplishment. When it goes to coaching, I also just died for those amazing plays and pushing the team, and it would just happen, so frequently. And now that I'm sitting here at home trying to get those same feelings, I think about watching the sport of volleyball. And when you watch even the even 3-set matches, take the women's national D1 championship, Stanford and Wisconsin, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat because every other play is a top 10 play at the highest level, and it just screams amazing athletic feats. And that is where I think volleyball can come into the market and really dominate.
That's very, very well said. I have a couple points that I like to think about that I want to add on to that. First of all, people go to talk about the sport of basketball a little bit. When a big man swats a shot into the second row, people call it like a volleyball block. First of all, why wouldn't you want to watch a sport where that happens literally every single play?
Yeah.
There's one. Second, the sport of volleyball is so fast. It's so dynamic, and I think the cadence of the game is kind of unique because in sports like basketball and hockey, the action is pretty much constant. Especially in hockey, there are very, very few breaks in the action. The sport of football is the opposite, where you have one very quick burst of action and then quite a bit of downtime. In baseball, viewing baseball is a little bit more of a like deep rooted culture thing than it is like a pure action. It's a little bit slower paced than the average like professional caliber spectator sport. Volleyball is a little bit different because it's about the same amount of time of action versus downtime. Maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds of action, 30 seconds of downtime, next serve. And it's also the suspense is created a little bit differently because we don't play on a clock, we play to a target score. So you get these extra point scenarios and sets where you're not there are no buzzer beaters to the clock, but you know that a team is fighting off against set point and a team has the opportunity to win a set, and you actually have no idea how long it's going to go. I think is an interesting spectator dynamic just in watching this sport. And that's in addition to all the things you said about how athletic it is. I kind of think of sports philosophically as like you can evaluate them on how the skill required at the highest levels and the athleticism required at the highest levels, which are two different things. And volleyball is extremely high skill and high athleticism.
Yeah, and you brought up amazing points. It is such a dynamic, interesting, and almost takes the best of each sport and crams it into one really amazing product to watch. And you get into conversations with non-volleyball individuals, and you watch it for 10 minutes, and you start getting the interest of everyone to just sit there and finish the set or the match. And the numbers speak for themselves. Volleyball at the Olympic level comes around every 4 years, and unfortunately got pushed out to 2021 this year. But it is always one of the most popular sports to watch, and I think that it's an opportunity for the VLA to take that opportunity that the Olympics is presenting in the summer of 2021 and provide viewers that fall in love with that sport a place to view it after the Olympics are over. And so that's really where we are focusing our time and ramping up our resources to really just capitalize and provide the market with a place to go to for high quality volleyball entertainment.
Good point. That timing might actually work out really well in our favor for next year if that's how the calendar looks like it's going to fall, which it is. Then you're right. I think there is a big market that can be capitalized on there. Because like you said, when a non-volleyball background person watches the game for the first time, they get hooked pretty quickly. It's just kind of a matter of putting it in front of those people. And that kind of leads me to my next question: is all the sports that dominate American professional sports entertainment now are rooted in a deep culture. Like basketball culture goes back years and years and years. Baseball culture goes back the longest out of any of the sports. Football culture, like you said, it owns 2 days of the week by itself. How do we as a league come up into existence when so much of American sports is rooted on that kind of culture? What can we do to fight, or I don't know about fight against that, but what can we do while that's kind of the state of American professional sports?
Yeah, I think the popular sports in the world right now, you just listed off, really kind of have their niche. NBA is such a powerful sport that has also kind of extended in lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And the NFL is owning, the family time on a Sunday, hanging out with your dad, your uncles, and sitting down and just eating food and junk food, and those are all amazing experiences. Really, when I think about it, it's not about competing or trying to take away from any of those things. I think there are other people that do not have the same opportunities that a football fan has that we want to solve for. And so I think there is a group of people, the volleyball community, that is looking for their way to after they're done playing, go somewhere to continue that great time and really develop those friendships. And so when I think about what volleyball is to the world, it's building lasting relationships, it's building friendships, and it's building a community, and it opens up so many doors from there. And so I think, volleyball, if I had to kind of describe the sport, it's really where you meet lifetime friends. And that's really, the place, if you're looking for that, where you should go.
I agree, and the great thing for us is that the volleyball community already exists. It's not like we have to expose the sport completely to a group of people that have never even heard of it or seen it before. There are already thousands on thousands and thousands of people in the country that volleyball is how they spend all their weekends. So that is a perfect place to start. So the last thing I kind of wanted to ask about the businessy side of running a league like this is kind of about TV and broadcasting. So one kind of example that I have here is when I was in college, I had a bunch of friends who played ultimate frisbee. There's a professional ultimate frisbee league called the AUDL that has popped up in the last maybe 4 or 5 years. They're older than us, but that's kind of a niche sport that has its own little community. And it's similar and different to volleyball in a lot of ways, but they have built their league up pretty impressively. I think they have 18 or 20 teams now, and they just now this year got a deal with either Fox Sports 1 or Fox Sports 2 to broadcast their games, which is a big deal. But they've put in the work, they've put in the money, they've put in the trying to get it out in front of people over the last several years, and it's been rewarded by a TV deal. So with our approach, putting our matches on YouTube first, which is a great idea and how accessible it is, how do we eventually turn that into getting picked up by like a more mainstream broadcasting platform where we can make a little bit more money off of it?
Yeah, that is a great question. It's something I've had a lot of conversations with people at ESPN and CBS Sports and NBC Sports, and I think that as an individual that grew up as a millennial, you think about where people consume their media and their content. And I remember seeing an article recently about just where people are spending their time now consuming entertainment during this COVID-19 social distancing experience. And there's clear delineation between individuals that are older, our folks' generation, that consume it from a TV broadcast perspective. You have generations between us and the millennials that slowly decrease the amount of consumption on TVs or broadcasts. And it quickly spikes back over to some of our newest generations where they're consuming their entertainment on online platforms. And
Pretty
it's a
exclusively.
variety.
Yeah.
And so when I think about how do we kind of solve the challenge of getting on TV or bigger distribution channels, there's the legacy TV, but then there's the internet, which then is the largest distribution facility that will enable us to really tap into how we can stand up high quality content using YouTube in very cost effective ways, but also hit where we think most of the people want to consume their entertainment from. And so I think it's about the fundamentals of why those platforms exist. Those platforms exist all because eyeballs are selling ad space and selling businesses on getting in front of our target market. And so I come back to our key metrics, which is driving social media views, driving YouTube followers, because those are the metrics that people look for with driving value to our customers and to our partners. And so I think about the end goal is not necessarily TV or the internet. It's how do we maximize the number of people that can view our product, and then find partners who also are looking to tap into that target market that we are drawing to our entertainment product, the Professional Volleyball League.
That's so well spoken and such a great perspective that is crucial for us trying to build a league to get the maximum reach that we can. I think YouTube is the perfect first step because it's so infinitely easily accessible, kind of like you said. So before we get you out of here, you've had several months now where you've gotten to know the board. You guys have done a ton of work behind the scenes, and we haven't even put a regular season match out on the floor yet, even though we were supposed to a couple weeks ago. The situation we're in now is what it is. In your opinion, what makes the VLA different as an effort to put professional volleyball in front of people in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think what is different about the VLA is it is again a group of people that really enjoy the sport of volleyball, and it's about really creating an opportunity to share our passions and interests, but really solve some of the biggest market challenges that exist within the volleyball market. And so it's combining our love for the sport, but also really identifying what the challenge is with creating a professional volleyball league, which is driving viewership, driving partnerships, and helping provide value to really a two-sided relationship. And so once we kind of understand that an entertainment product is a two-sided dragon, to say, you really need to balance the two, right? We can't over-index, gathering, high-quality players with no viewers, or we can't drive, really good partnerships without eyeballs on our product or butts in seats. And so it's understanding the dynamic that exists between those relationships is really, I think, the key differentiator of the VLA. And I think ultimately there is just a burning need to really bring the community together and really just show off to a lot of the other sports in the world that volleyball's here. It's been here, and it's a unique time where technology is so easy and accessible. Distribution of quality content is so inexpensive that right now makes the VLA the right time to create a professional volleyball league here in the U.S.
So what's something that the people listening to this right now can do to help us build what we're trying to build?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the simple, obvious answer is follow us on our social media accounts, subscribe to us on YouTube, and reach out to us. You can reach out to me personally if you're interested in anything related to growing a sports league, business development, social media, entertainment, content. If you're interested in playing, if you're interested in helping create camps or bringing our players to your clubs, we are a very inclusive environment where anybody looking to help in any of those ranges, or ones that we're not even thinking about, reach out. will.foley at usavla.com, and I'd be happy to chat with any and all of you to really work together to solve this challenge.
You heard it here, people. You can reach out to Will, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to absolutely anybody that I've had on the show before, or reach out to, at VLA Volleyball on Instagram, whoever. Like Will said, we are available. We want to talk to you. We want to answer your questions. We want to get you involved. So that's it. Come be a part of what we got going on here. Will, thank you so much for joining the show. I think that was an awesome bit of perspective for people now to understand kind of what we're creating here and how we're going about doing it. And I hope we can see you at events really soon, man.
Rob, it's been a pleasure, and thank you. And to all those listeners, thank you in advance.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next time.
All right, bye.